Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you yet again in the off season, talking to you about tight ends from 2025. I'm Mr. Bildacoustas. I'm here with Mr. Tom Lang. Mr. Lang, how are you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic. I can't wait to talk about the top 12 tight ends. It's going to be so amazing this week. These onesie positions back to back are so fun to talk about, but you know what? There are some onesie position players that actually won you your league, and you could have just completely waited on them. And we talked a lot about them this past off season. So let's I'm definitely excited to talk about some of these guys. But before we do that, we got to talk about Mr. Big Bucks getting the big money. Just JSN making
That's
that
right.
4 year extension. It was like 163 or 143 million, 120 million guaranteed. Well, you got paid. Now let's perform, continue to perform. So
That's right. I wanted to ask you something to ask your opinion because you've been the loudest among people that we know that have been like, listen, you need to structure these contracts and you need to make them in a way that is incentivizing for the players to perform, right?
yeah.
Case in point, your Jawan Jennings situation. My question to you is, I think sometimes in the media there seems to be some hypocrisy going on. Shocker, about things like, well, if you give people incentives and you give people like in a contract year, the players are going to play way harder, which all the time happens. But
hmm
then they'll also say things like, well, now that they're paid, like now we're excited when a player gets paid because then he's going to perform. So is it before he gets paid or after he gets paid that he's supposedly better off? Like,
It's right before he gets paid or right before an extension. That's usually when it pops off. I mean, if you look at it, uh, you know, just look at Wandell Robinson, for example. He got the money that he was trying to shoot for with a different team, but he performed back-to-back years. The reason is because, he had the opportunity to do so. Last year, who's the only wide receiver out there. The year before that, you had a little bit of Malik Neighbors, basically taking it. But on top of that, he's not a number one wide receiver, and in a way, he's getting paid slightly like a very, very low end wide receiver one.
well, like then why do certain members of various members of the media and other fantasy football communities, etc., like, oh wow, JSN got paid. Now we can expect yada yada. Or oh, this running back got paid. Now we can expect yada yada. You know what I mean? Like here, okay, another example, Travis Etienne, right? He's going to an opportunity in the Saints. He just got paid. Why should we think that now he got paid, so now he's going to perform better? What I'm saying is you can't think both things. Wait
I
till
mean,
they
a
get
player
paid,
should
but then he gets paid. Like,
a player at any caliber should just play to their best ability every single time.
right.
It's just, you get to the NFL. Some people get to the NFL to get paid. That's the low end. But some people go to but most majority of people go to the NFL to get paid and also to perform because they train their entire life to get on the stage. And so sometimes when the money's there, that's when, and you get paid those big bucks and you start seeing some of these players dispays because they want to stay on the field and they feel like sometimes they can't get injured. I feel like that's a big thing where, um their agents are like, listen, like, if you're not comfortable about this, like, slow it down a little bit. If your knee hurts, you're incentivized to basically, to get that additional guaranteed money. You got to play all 17 games, like things like that. So it just I think there are, just like how I have a thing with money in the NFL and and Vegas, in a sense, still to this day. I think that there's agents in some of these players' ears on and off, and
Oh, I agree with this. I don't agree with the first thing you said, but I agree with this. Yeah.
I think that's something that's big. Like when I was there was a massive coach's decision. Like let's just put it this way: if Jaden Daniels was not a year two player last year, perfect example, and he was not on a rookie contract, and he was getting paid 40 plus $1 million a year, do you think that they would have rushed him back when they were a losing team?
No, but you don't
You
think they would
protect your
have
asset
you don't
that
think they would have done it either if it wasn't for Hard Knocks. I mean,
well, I think that was the big thing. It was, but there's the rookie contract. basically getting paid, a third, if that, of what he deserves to get paid as a quarterback, a starting quarterback in the NFL. That is tenured, right? But the thing is, like, there's a lot of agent speak. There's people that say, "Hey, slow it down." Oh, hold on. You know what? Go on the sideline, read a book. You don't want to be out there. You don't want to be on this team. Get yourself traded.
I guess what I'm saying is like from a fantasy analysis thing, it seems like people are speaking out of two sides of their mouth. There are people that are like they're getting excited for people to get paid. Like, good, he's paid. Now we can project this. Now we're excited he's going to perform this. Whereas, there's other people that are like, well, this person, and this person are going into a contract year. Therefore, now is going to be so like it's difficult to explain like how we think about that if you're saying both things. Is it better for people to be paid or better for people not to be paid? You know?
Well, I mean, people got to get paid, but honestly, I think you got to pay players that he deserves it. Back to back years.
Yes, yes.
We
Let's
were.
not bury the lead. He
I'm
deserves
not
it.
gonna. He definitely deserves it. But the problem is, like, can his quarterback get him the ball? Can it be a consecutive thing? Right.
Right.
There's that aspect. He did it with Geno, right? Then he also did it with Sam Darnold. He's got Sam Darnold again. And they got no running game. So,
Right. I think
um,
I think the larger point, and we could go back and we'll look at some of the stats on this, Tommy. But remember we did that show where we actually talked about the guys going into a contract year, and almost all of them were smash hits. Almost all of them. Now, I think part and parcel in that was in our analysis, we were discussing the player himself and his situation and his quote unquote attitude about the game. And like you could clearly see the narrative where it's like, all right, this player, this player, and this player really want to go get paid. They're going to do this, the Juwan Jennings thing, that kind of thing.
mhm.
So, but I do think a player like JSN is the type of player where it's like, okay, he got paid. There's some stability now. Yes, we could be excited about him going forward. I guess it just depends on the player, maybe. I don't know. I just thought I laughed sometimes because they had a segment on a network that covers sports that they were talking about a player who is going to be franchise tagged next year. And so therefore he's going to have to go crush it and then make that team look silly. We'll let that team be remain unnamed, teams that have stars in them. And then right in the next segment, they were talking about, oh, well, this wide receiver, JSN, now that he's paid, watch how well he's going to perform. You can't say both things. That's,
No,
like it's like, so unless there's a lack of nuance in the media, which we already know that there's a lack of nuance in the media.
I
So,
think it's just it's all a fugazi. Who's going to perform. Who's pretty much going out there to get the money and going to start kicking it back. We all saw it with Brandon Ayuk. Like that was he got paid. He got paid big, big, big money. And what did it like?
right.
We were talking. I know we weren't doing the show at this point in time, but like we were talking like stay away from that guy. He's a performer, but he got paid way too early in his career.
That's right. No, it's not surprising. So good. So,
Um,
so good for
on
him. Make a contract. We
on
like it.
top of that, on top of that, let's talk about real quick before we get into, or this is kind of like a bridge into tight ends, but let's talk about the 36 going to be 37-year-old getting a three
Oh
year
yeah.
re-signing with the
Oh man.
Chiefs. That means October of whatever in 3 years from now, he's going to be 40 years old as a tight end in the NFL.
So is that what it means? He might not actually play that
Why?
entire duration
Why would anybody like? But the thing is, like, why would the team negotiate a 3 year deal if he's not projected to play?
because if he doesn't play, they don't have to pay him after that. Maybe it's not
But the
guaranteed that
contract
those
is majority of the contracts are front loaded.
right. If they're front loaded, then what does it matter?
I just think it's dumb to sign a 3 year deal. Just negotiate a 1 or 2 year deal. 1 or 2, 3 years is a long time. That's an
What
attorney in the NFL.
yeah, let's not bury the lead. You and I both think it's stupid anyway, regardless of how many years it
I
is.
think
So
Travis Kelsey got a great, great, fantastic agent. Like at 36 years old as a tight end that has not really been performing. I mean, yes, he's been okay with fantasy, but he hasn't been the Travis Kelsey of the previous years.
no,
He's not a touchdown.
we think he's holding the team hostage. We think that he's holding back because they're committed to him because it's Travis Kelsey. He's part of the dynasty and all that. And so yeah, like he's actively holding the team back in our opinion. Um, the we're hashtag free Noah Gray is we're on that train. But
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, that's what they wanted to do. So he's going to be on the team. So they absolutely need a weapon on at the wide receiver position. I mean, we'll see how they do it. I don't know if Tyreek Hill's going to come back. We'll see if that happens. Maybe Kelsey wants to just outdo Tony Gonzalez from a longevity and from a stat standpoint. He's got a little ways to go.
Yeah,
Last I
but
checked.
Tony Gonzalez was actually came into every single year actually in shape and ready to go. So,
Yeah, he was gangster all the way up until 39, I think,
yep.
basically. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah. So let's bridge that into tight ends. I'm sure we'll
Well,
talk about.
actually, no, hold on. Before we bridge
Oh,
that, there's two more quick things.
oh, sure, sure.
Brian Robinson Jr. He signs with the Falcons in place, and basically taking the place of what's his name? That went
Algier.
over to Algier that goes to the Cardinals. I think that's a great signing for them.
I do think it's a good signing, and this was to be expected. We knew it wasn't going to be Bijan with 100% of
But
carries.
this is
You know,
I think Brian Robinson's a better up the gut runner than Algier. This is going to
I
take a
don't know
lot. I
about
think this is
that.
going to take. I think it's going to take a little bit more touchdowns away from.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
All right.
I do disagree with that. Although I don't want to preview things that we'll discuss in a few months from now, but I got to tell you, I don't know if we're going to have a disagreement. We might have an agreement. I think that I'm going to be on the Gibbs train with the number one overall. I think this coming year, personally.
All right. No,
But
I think Isaiah Pacheco is a better runner than Dave Montgomery.
that might be right. It doesn't change,
It takes away a little bit more. It's going 50-50.
So you think Brian Robinson is going to take more away from than
Bijan.
Algier did, right?
Yep.
And you think Pacheco is going to take more away than Montgomery did.
Yep.
So how does that net out? Who's the number one running back for you?
Um,
Ask you in a few months.
Christian McCaffrey.
It's not going to happen again.
PPR, you gotta roll it.
Ugh, all right.
And Joe Flacco resigns with the
Oh,
Bengals.
oh my God. All right, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Geriatric Bowl is gonna be coming up again this
Yeah,
year.
geriatric. Your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday pill box coming to a theater near you. Moving on. Let's get to the tight ends. This is our last entry in the review from 2025. We'll cover all the finishers at the tight end position, tight ends 1 to 12, and notable mentions to discuss after that. Remember, this is going to be done in half PPR, and this is only from weeks 1 to 17 because we don't care about week 18. So, that having been said, let's talk about number one. What a surprise. Trey McBride completely lapping the field, almost 100 points more than the number two tight end. Trey McBride finishes. His ADP was 2, and I mean, it was what it was. He was going to finish very high. Tommy, we kind of alluded to this when we talked about the quarterbacks thing. Really, the only question is he's going to go as the number one tight end. We're going to have him ranked as the number one tight end this coming year. We know that.
Yeah.
The question is, like how much an investment could you actually make in him? And currently he's going as pick number 18. So that's the middle of the second round. I can't make that investment.
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's where he was going last year. I
he was
mean,
going
that's
he was going at the very end of the second, top of the third last year.
which is around that target range. I mean, you're talking about middle of the pack right there for on the background in the set round two, but maybe bumping up like 2 or 3 spots. But I mean, it just depends on the format. I mean, if it's again, a lot of your drafts happen based on format position and whatnot. And I understand he's a onesie position, but if you're in a 1.5 point per reception for tight ends, I mean that's a game changer.
Right, but you're not taking multiple. This is another reason we talked about this with onesie positions. You're not taking multiple shots at that position when
Yeah.
you invest in a player like Trey McBride. So God forbid anything goes wrong, not just injury, but let's say for whatever reason, underperforming, quarterback gets injured, whatever, like it's not going to be good. Like if you've already made that investment in the middle of the second, that's a crazy investment.
No, I understand that, but I mean, for a guy that's consecutively getting 150 plus targets, it's not just from Brissett. It's a consecutive thing. The guy finished with 161 targets, 119 receptions, 11 touchdowns, and that basically he crushed last year's numbers with touchdowns. Like, remember, it was all season. In 2024, 2025, it was all season. He didn't get a touchdown until late in the year. Um, he eclipsed that. And honestly, this is I could see maybe some target share going slightly down, but I could see the touchdowns being, the same kind of percentage, same kind of results into going to next year. I mean, inside the 20, his receptions were 20, he had 20 receptions, 33 targets, and 11 touchdowns. All of his touchdowns were inside the 20. So he is the inside the 20 reception guy.
That's true, and there's no reason to think it's not going to be more of the same. I mean, they're rocking and rolling with Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback next
Yeah.
year. So, I mean, again, really the only thing that's going to stop him is injury or perhaps some fundamental offensive difference, which we don't think is going to happen unless
No.
Jacoby Brissett gets hurt, maybe. But
I mean, here's a guy that basically he got paid before last year too. So he performed and he got paid and he's a performer. He wants to play. He's a football player.
yes, that's generally what they are.
And some of
Um,
them aren't. Some of them are divas.
yes, that's true. So I'm going to say right now he's probably going to be on none of the teams that I have next year. Just the investment is just too crazy. And again, like we said, the opportunity cost and the fact that you're not taking more shots at that position, because even when you take a top tier running back or wide receiver, you're taking multiple shots at running back and wide receiver to bolster your team, which you're not doing at a tight end or quarterback position. So, not a probably not going to be on my teams, but I can't deny he's the best of the best. But we'll get to some other guys that might be able to unseat him. Let's go to number two, and that will not be one of those guys, but amazingly, finishing at number two is Kyle Pitts, basically finishing at number two on the back of one good week. The entire season, what he had three good weeks. Week 4, 15.5 points. Week 16, 15.2 points, and of course, week 15, the most points in history at the tight end position, 40.1. Unbelievable.
hmm
Unbelievable. Um, so here's the deal. He's on the franchise tag for next year. And, you know, what other targets are there other than Drake London in Atlanta?
Well, that's about it. I mean, they lost Darnell Mooney. He's not there anymore. He's on my Giants. And Zacchaeus actually came back.
Right.
Olamide Zacchaeus. So I think it just depends on the quarterback situation. Is it Tua? Which I think it's going to be. Is it Penix? Mr. Mike Penn 15. Um, I don't know. But I think Kyle Pitts he's a great talent. I just think he falls back to Kyle Pitts of 2024, 2025.
Which
He is
was
he is incentivized to perform, but the problem is his quarterback play going to be a little underwhelming. So
let me ask you this. So, it's just at the tight end too. If you take out week 15 from him, you wouldn't have been happy if you played him every week.
no, I mean if you take him out of the week 15, I mean he finishes outside the top 12 pretty much.
Yeah, I mean we don't have the math, but it's like it wouldn't have been good. And so that's a larger point. We'll talk about this in the off season, but like everything else you could have just punted. You could have just played basically streaming tight ends. You could have, figured it out or whatever. So and he's a good example. I don't know where we're gonna have him ranked next year, but we're gonna have a point where we just say, hey, punt. Punt the position. We're gonna have that's what our ranking tier list is gonna be. This guy, punt, and then everybody else. And so yeah,
Yeah.
that's the case. Anyway, Kyle Pitts, you drafted him at 16, finishes at 2, basically on the back of one good week.
I am
And
very excited to talk about rankings once we get there with the tight end position
so am I.
to be completely honest, I really feel that this tight end year going into this year is going to be extremely profitable.
Maybe you're right. It'll be interesting. Let's talk about number 3, Dallas Goedert, amazingly finishing at the tight end 3. You draft him as the tight end 15, finishes at 3. Again, part and parcel like the Kyle Pitts thing. We're going to be talking about guys that finished like, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then like none of them it was like that good for, most of the time. So Dallas Goedert had a couple of blow up weeks in there, and then a lot of bad weeks, a lot of bad weeks. But again, You think partially it's because that's the Eagles' offense. Jalen Hurts just failing it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Jalen Hurts is not a he should not be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
He is a good
That's gonna be a fun short to have
he's a
people.
he yeah, he's a good running quarterback and a good tush push quarterback. But he is not a thrower. And honestly, I mean, the coaches know that. That's why they don't allow him to throw 30 plus times a game, consecutive weeks. And when he does make mistakes. But with Dallas Goddard, he's been proving to be a very, very good streamer. And then some years he's just, the guy. He's a great asset to have on your fantasy roster, and he's somebody that basically was on the waivers on and off the year. I will say this: the problem, he did score 11 touchdowns, so there's going to be a nice amount of regression there. That's what got him to the third spot. But um, he only missed one game last year, and Brock Bowers had more targets than he did,
That's right.
and Brock Bowers missed I think like 6 or 7 games last year. So, the touchdowns weren't there for Bowers this year as much, even though he had 7 touchdowns in the low amount of games he had. But, you know, if you look at the numbers, the stats, everything put together, you know, it's those touchdowns that are what got him to that third spot level. And don't expect that to happen again.
I agree with you.
He's a
Um,
talented player, and he's always been very talented. But with the quarterback position that's there, I just cannot trust that.
we're gonna get into like tight ends that had high averages, because obviously McBride, laps and fields of everybody, but like we're talking about now, a lot of middling tight ends that ended up, finishing high because of a lot of injuries, etc. To put in perspective, McBride finished, like we said, with 242 points, almost 100 points above Kyle Pitts. The difference between Trey McBride and Kyle Pitts is larger than the difference between Kyle Pitts and the number 12 tight end.
Yeah.
So, like all these guys from Kyle Pitts all the way down to number 12, who we'll get to is Dalton Schultz, very middling, but we will point out where the averages were higher because there were points in the year where guys were
Now,
valuable to have for different streaks.
now I will say this: Dallas Goddard is the go-to target through the air inside the 20.
Yes.
He had 15 targets for 13 receptions, so he only dropped 2 balls, and he had 10 of his touchdowns inside that 20. I think he just had one like 40-yard touchdown in one game, but that's where his bread and butter was last year. That really got you the points that got you to where he got him to where he was at number 3 finishing. That doesn't happen every single year. Now it's a different story. We just basically kind of flip flopped from Trey McBride to Dallas Goddard saying the same thing, but it's the scenario with Dallas Goddard is not going to work with that quarterback play. Brissett is throwing the ball 50 plus times a game sometimes. So, I trust that more
Oh,
consecutively going into next year than I do with Dallas Goddard.
oh, 100%. 100%. Nobody would disagree with you. It's Trey. But that's
People
not
will
even
disagree.
that's
People are
not
going to disagree.
it's not even a comparison. The question is, could you make the investment in ADP? That's the question for
No.
McBride anyway. Let's go to number 4. I mean, we alluded to it earlier. Finishing at number 4 is Travis Kelce. You drafted him as the tight end 5. Okay. Like most of these guys here, it was a level of inconsistency, and also he's 1,000 years old now, and he's way past his prime, and he's aggravating me and Tommy. It is what it is.
He's
Next,
probably aggravating Taylor Swift too.
he just might. He just might. Uh, Next year, I imagine we'll have him ranked top 10. He'll probably finish top 10, and he probably won't be that good for your team. Just it is what it is.
And
That's it.
somebody in your
Yeah,
league is going to overdraft him
definitely,
with
because
Patrick Mahomes.
it's a name. Yeah. Well, again, we heard it here first. Tommy made an announcement because he could predict the future. Patrick Mahomes is not going to be playing the start of the year.
Nope.
Yeah. So let's go to number 5. A little bit more exciting now. Finishing number 5, amazingly, Harold Fannin Jr. Uh, whatever, undrafted rookie tight end. I was amazed at how good he ultimately became with as porous quarterback play as what it was. Um,
Because he was
Now
getting all the targets.
I suppose now you were a fan of him earlier than I was in the season. Now again, there was some bad weeks in there. but by far the best weapon on the offense. That'll continue into next year. We only know what's going to happen with David Njoku, but he won't be on the Cleveland Browns. So just the question is, can Shador or Deshaun Watson support him enough for him to be as relevant,
or Gabriel.
or
Um,
Gabriel,
I think
or my
honestly,
grandmother?
yeah, I think honestly, there's no reason for him not to. He's proven to be a very athletic tight end. He is a solid blocker as well too. I think when that team is full strength, and they also weren't full strength to start the season. But he did have a banger game week one. They played I think it was the Ravens week one. Um, and
Bengals,
the Bengals,
I think.
sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. But he had a fantastic game. And he was a solid, he was getting you exactly what you need as a very, 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 very low end, even free agent tight end. Somebody that you could just picked up and just, streamed. And he was doing it for you pretty much on and off all year. There are some games that were really rough, but he did get a lot of targets inside the red zone. He had 6 touchdowns last year. So I think it's something that's positive. Now the other thing is, do they get inside the red zone
Right.
next year? So
Well,
we'll
maybe he
see.
could PPR his way to some relevance. While we're on the subject here, who do you think, again, notwithstanding the team, but who do you think was the best rookie tight end? Harold Fannin, Tyler Warren, or Colson Loveland?
Tyler Warren
Okay. Okay. Okay.
all
Uh,
day. I think Tyler Warren finishes, especially if, and we'll talk about him soon, but I think honestly, if Daniel Jones was, throughout the entire season, he would have finished in the top five. Easy.
gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about number 6, Jake Ferguson, Fergalicious himself, drafted as the tight end 13, finishing at 6, so return value on there. However, there was a period of the first half of the year, basically up until all the way through week 7, where he was one of the best tight ends in football. Looked like a great pick. We were all
Yes.
excited about him. He was one of our darlings in the offseason.
Yep.
And then it basically just dropped off the face of the planet. You know, eh. He was basically meh for the rest of the season after that. I know we went back and forth during the season. We think partially it was CD Lamb halfway returning, whatever, and also, different things that went on with the
Illinois showing
offense.
up and basically taking the third target.
Flournoy, yeah.
Illinois, Flannery, whatever you want to call
I know. The fact that you called him Flannery was was very funny during the season.
him.
But he's going to be there again next year, and their offense looks to be more of the same. I don't know. Like it's just he's just one of these guys where it's like, hey, throw a guy in, right? I mean, if we're not going to be that overly excited about him next year, are we?
I'll be happy with him.
Okay. I mean,
I'm always about that Jake Ferguson life right there.
well,
So
okay.
think
You know.
Jake Ferguson when well again, if it's a red light scenario with Dak Prescott, which it's looking to be, then maybe I shy away. But he's gonna go probably, 9th, 10th round, and you could just pocket a tight end there and, figure out the rest.
Fantasy analysis brought to you by Squid Games. Let's talk let's let's talk about the next guy. Tyler Warren. Again, we mentioned it earlier. So
Yeah.
again, here's another guy up until the Daniel Jones injury was one of the best tight ends in football, also one of the best picks. I mean, he was really dominating for your team. And
Yep.
like you said, you thought he was the best overall physical tight end, etc. Again, just a now Michael Pittman has since been traded away. So even another one of their targets has been moved.
This is really good for him.
It's very
This,
good.
I think this turns into a Trey McBride situation.
You might be right. I also think Alec Pierce has a really, really great year too. I think it's a consolidation of targets. He's going to be a beneficiary. The problem is, do we believe in Daniel Jones coming back from that injury to support this?
Yes, I do, because they paid the guy. He's back.
Okay. To see is another one. He paid him, so therefore good. Usually you're on the don't pay him thing.
No, 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 no. They paid him in a sense. You don't pay a
I
guy
know,
that's
I know, I know.
injured. Injuries and performance play are different. You know, when a guy is injured and he's coming back from injury and they pay him, that means he's going to start the season.
Gotcha. Okay. I understand what you're saying. Let's talk
It's
about
science.
let's talk about the next guy, Brock Bowers. Man, this one hurt. So Brock Bowers finishing at 8. He drafted him as the tight end 1. Now his average was way higher. He's one of the few tight ends. I think there was only 4 that had averages 12 or above. McBride, I'll just go through the names. McBride, Bowers, Kittle, and Tucker Kraft were the only tight ends that applied to. The problem is he didn't finish higher because he didn't play all the games. And there was a period of time during the middle of the season where after he had his injury, he forced himself on the field and he was not himself. Um,
And he didn't play week 17 Christmas week. He was a Merry Christmas present for all of us.
that's right. He, as we substituted in Jake Tonjes to our great happiness.
Yes.
Um, you know, the thing is though, like, do you think he is a better tight end than Trey McBride?
I do. Um, I think they're very equal. Um, he might be slightly better. And it's because he's extremely versatile. And he has a tremendous amount of speed. Compared to Trey McBride. Trey McBride is a big body guy. He's a very, very great asset to that offense. And takes 3, 4 guys sometimes to take him down. Whereas Bowers, he kind of is a wide receiver in a sense, but a bigger wide receiver and he's a nice sized tight end and
He
he
is a
knows.
big guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not the size. Like I feel like they're two separate players. Whereas, if you're running the 40, Brock Bowers is going to run away with it.
I don't know about that, but I do think they're both talented. Now, obviously McBride's on a team where they have some more weapons and a better quarterback situation. Although I could make the argument of who else is Mendoza going to throw the ball to in Las Vegas,
Apparently, Jalen Naylor.
which means not many people, right? Although you think Mendoza is going to walk in and be better than Geno Smith was, right?
uh, I could walk in and be better than Geno Smith was.
Well, so then you're going to have high hopes for Bowers next year.
Yeah, Bowers. I mean, Bowers did it with
G
Uncle Rico.
Gino and Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, if anybody
Yeah,
didn't know who he was talking
and
about.
Gardner Minshew is the backup for Brissett.
That's true. Yeah, it's just the revolving door of
The gunsling us.
backup quarterbacks. Yeah, we're probably going to have Bowers ranked pretty high, and I like the idea that he is not going to be like maybe his ADP is not going to be overly inflated. There's going to be some trepidation about that with the Mendoza situation. So, but again, if he's going to go in the 3rd round, it's going to be it's such a hard investment to make.
Yeah,
Such a hard investment. We'll talk about that more in the offseason. Let's talk about number 9, old reliable. Number 9, Hunter Henry. Drafted as the
old
tight
but not as old as Travis Kelce. Reliable.
yeah, drafted as the tight end 18, whatever. Hunter Henry is the quintessential streaming tight end. We were able to identify good matchups that you could throw him in there. Hopefully he'll do well. But then again, if he didn't do well, then you could have said that about any other tight end. So he didn't cost you anything if you threw him in there. You know what I mean? So probably going to be a little bit less good next year because he's another year older on a team in which now they're going to have a way more difficult
He
schedule.
is he is the most underappreciated tight end in the NFL.
You think?
Yeah.
I feel like
I
there's
think
some underappreciated tight
no,
ends, man.
I honestly think
Charlie
his
Kohler.
I think he'll see a little bit more of a progression with with his touchdowns, to be honest. I think Drake May is going to get, better going into his 3rd year. And that offensive system is going to get better and stronger. They obviously are going to have a tough they're going to have a tough schedule next year. But again, they do get to play against the Miami Dolphins and the Jets. So
You can never discount the effect that has. So yes, count that for 4 40-point games from both of those
there
horrible
you
teams. Yeah.
go.
Let's talk about number 10, a darling of ours, Jawan Johnson.
Yep.
Um, Undrafted guy comes in and he was a darling of ours right in the beginning of the season. And then we got a little annoyed with him for a couple of games there, but he came back strong, especially when Tyler Shook started asserting a little bit of dominance there. Um, I know you think he's 40 years old, even though he's not 40 years old.
He's not 40 years old, but he looks it.
But he's a very good athlete. I think he's in a good system there. Tyler Shook is ascending.
He's the
I
Shannon Sharp of tight ends.
I have high hopes for him coming next year too, especially since it doesn't look like Kamara is going to be there to soak up short area targets anymore. So,
Travis Etienne is.
well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I've high hopes for Juwan Johnson.
Actually, it's not Travis Etienne. Remember, it's Travis Etienne.
But I'm never gonna. It's not fine.
That's what he said. It's Travis Etienne.
I know, but you can't just all of a sudden do that, especially when you're already on camera saying that it was
Hey, listen,
pronounced something else.
when you make $50 million as a running back in the NFL, you could say, my name is Pizza McMuffin. Like he can say whatever he wants.
I got it, but you can't say that after you had already been a millionaire and said on camera, "No, my name is Banana McMuffin." You
Well,
can't,
maybe he's going to the Bayou and he wants to just basically pronounce his name differently.
this is a
Maybe
stupid thing.
maybe by the end of next year he'll have an X next to his name.
All right.
Travis Etienne X.
We'll try to do our best. I'll have no promises on my part. I will say we had a hard time changing over from Devon A. Chain to Devon A. Chan. That took a little while from
Yeah.
us. So we'll do our best. Let's talk about number 11, George Kittle, George Brittle, drafted as the tight end
He is
three,
so brittle.
drafted as the tight end three, and okay, did not return that value. Although the games that he played was very good. Like we said, his average was very high. But I think personally, this is kind of the end of the empire of dominance for George Kittle. That's my opinion. I might be going against the grain from what the online fantasy community thinks,
I think he just needs to stop playing so hard. He could just be like maybe just take it down a slight notch and just not get hurt.
but that's not him.
No, I mean, but I will say this. He only dropped 10 balls last year, 62 for 52. That's pretty good, if he played the
Right.
entire season, he would have dropped 20 balls.
But we
That's
know,
really good.
but we know what he is. We're not criticizing the man and his talent. It's just he can't get on the field. I
Yeah.
mean, it's getting worse and worse
I'm
as he gets
telling you.
older.
I'm telling you. We talked about Mike Evans going over there. That practice field is right next to those electrical outlets.
Well, I bring him up because we'll talk about it a little bit in a moment, but I do believe in Jake Tonges as as a real sleeper, probably an undrafted gem that you could just throw in your tight end slot and be happy for the first couple weeks of the year.
Well, I
Um,
will say if you're drafting George Kittle, you better have Jake Tonges on your back.
right, but right, I guess if you have an IR spot, if you don't have an IR spot, I don't know how you're going to draft him. You're going to keep a tight end who's not playing a tight end. It's a
Hey,
hard sell.
it's a value.
Is it though? I don't.
Hey, if you're like, if you want to play smart and you're like, hey, listen, I'm just gonna wait, and I'm gonna take my shot play, my shot caller shot on this 14th round guy. I'm gonna take Jake Tonjes here, as my safety net just in case, because it's not even a just in case for when George Kittle goes down,
I understand that, but George
and he
Kittle,
might
like,
not even start the year.
that's what we're saying. Like, here, we'll be conservative about it. Let's say he doesn't play the first 4 games of the year. How do you roster him?
Well, somebody will.
Right, and they're wasting us. I think it won't be me. It'll be a wasted spot for four
That's fine,
weeks,
but
and
you could
then
draft
me,
you could
and then you'll
draft
feel
Jake
comfortable
Tonjes.
playing him.
You could draft Jake Tonjes if you want, for a value. People are
Yeah,
gonna have to. People are gonna draft George Kittle over Jake Tonjes no matter what.
yes, and nobody's going to draft Jake Tonjes. I'll draft him in the 15th, and I have a solid tight end for the first X amount of weeks. It's you know what I mean. So, and also, like I'm saying, I don't think George Kittle is going to go back to any sort of domination next year. I don't. I think it's on the downslope here. Uh,
All right.
but maybe I'm against the grain. Let's talk about number 12, the slowest man on the planet, Dalton Schultz. Let's go. Finishing at number 12 somehow, plotting and plotting his way. Honestly, Dalton Schultz was very similar to the Hunter Henry. Let's not make fun of him too much.
No, and
In
he also got an extension. I mean, but the guy got over 100 targets. He's just he's a very valid piece of that offense.
Yes, and you're able to identify which weeks are going to be good weeks for him. And he
Mhm.
had some good weeks in there, and it was easy enough to see how the Texans were going to use him.
I mean, this was his
So
best year since basically the year that he had 8 touchdowns in 2021.
that was with the Cowboys, I think, right? Was he with
Hmm.
them then? Yeah.
Yep, that was a year that then they got Ferguson, and the rest was over.
They just need a better offensive line there in Houston, and I'll believe a little bit more in their pass catchers. But hopefully they do. So that's the top 12. I got a bunch of names here that I just want to cover real quick with Mr. Lang here. Um, let's talk about number 14. We kind of alluded to him earlier. Finishing number 14 is Colston Loveland. Whatever, you drafted him as the tight end 12, but that's not the story. Towards the latter half of the season, he really took off as a big piece and um a big dominating piece of that offense. I thought he looked really good. And now with the departure of DJ Moore, we're hoping for a consolidation of targets between Loveland, Burden, and Odunze. So I know you think Warren is a little bit better, but not that far off is Loveland, in your opinion, right?
I mean, it just depends on the quarterback play there. So, it just depends on what Williams shows up next year. Is it going to be Caleb that's ready to, to beat the team of the Rams that basically beat them at home this past year, or is it going to be a resurgence of the Lions that's going to come back and start running all over all those teams and just claim that division all over again? Because honestly, I'll say something right now. If the Bears don't win the division, which they're probably not going to, they're not making the playoffs. They're not a playoff team.
You might be right. I mean, it's a difficult division too. The Vikings, the Lions, the Packers. I
Well,
mean,
the Vikings have 9 and Kyler Murray, so let's put them at the bottom.
I think they come out and they're very competitive. Um, yeah, but I agree with you. I'm just counting on the fact that like it's a second year with Ben Johnson. I could see them having a dynamic offense there that he is a big beneficiary of. So again, I don't know where it's going to fall on ADP. I'm not going to.
Watch Cole Kmet has a record breaking year next year.
Well, he had that crazy catch in the against the Rams
Hmm.
that nearly sent them to the NFC Championship game, but did not come to fruition. Let's talk about number 16, Mark Andrews. He drafted as the tight end 7,
I
so
hate this guy.
it did not finish. However, what did Baltimore do? Not only did they get rid of Harbaugh, they got rid of Isaiah Likely and they extended Mark Andrews. So,
You know what? I don't even put that on the Ravens. That was a John Harbaugh like chess piece move. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna bring the players that I was gonna sign before they let me go over to the Giants. It's exactly what he did. Brings over Shard. It,
Richard and
Unbelievable move.
Likely,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's very funny
And I'm
how that
still
happened.
surprised about Isaiah Likely because because it's very clear that Theo Johnson has has a setting there with which we'll call it Jackson Dart. So, Likely is a very, very good talent. So I'm very excited for that. I think he's going to have a nice year. It might be a dual tight end set.
Well, in the vacuum of Isaiah Likely, I'm sure Mark Andrews will be drafted semi-high like he always is because of, the visions of yesteryear on him. I think it's a net neutral, everything that happened. Isaiah Likely leaving, but also John Harbaugh leaving. And like we said, we think that the Ravens take a step back next year. And I think that Mark Andrews is on the downslope of his career too. So
I mean,
uh,
he's 30 years old, not going to be 37 years old. So
I know, but I haven't liked what I saw. I didn't think he was as dominating as, physically, bullying as he used to be. So maybe I'll eat crow on this, but I don't think I'll have him on a lot of teams this year, even though the opportunity would suggest that it's very good for him. So,
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a decent year for him, specifically for him because of the move and there not being a secondary tight end there. I think he is pretty much going to be the only valid passing option that I would say on that offense. That's not a passing team. That I would probably wait and take him like in the seventh, eighth round if he's available.
okay. Let's talk about number 19, Tucker Kraft. So, like we said, he was one of the only tight ends that had an average above 12. So, one of the best tight ends when he played, but then he got a horrible injury and then he was out for the incomplete second half of the season.
Yeah.
Um, it was bad. And we made the joke. not us. Josh Jacobs made the joke all year about not having a wide receiver one. Kraft was their wide receiver one. Kraft really was. He was really, really good for that team.
Yeah, the week before he got that injury, I mean, he had
29 points.
29.8 points.
The
So
the question is, does he come back from the injury and go back to his old dominating self? And I worry that he doesn't. I worry that the injury, it takes a little while to come back from that.
yeah,
So
I can see that.
yeah. So I hope that I'm wrong about that because I like the player, but it's hard to come back from that injury. So maybe we'll feel better about it for the second half of next year as he gets his wheels under him. Let's talk about number 20, Dalton Kincaid. Drafted as the tight end 14, whatever. But Dalton Kincaid, man, it's just he missed so many games, and it just feels like sometimes like the fire was underneath it. We're going, hey, he's an auto start, play him every week, and then injury, and then a thing happens, and then something happens, and that's the end of it. And it's just unfortunate because I like Dalton Kincaid, and
Yeah, you were very high. You start him this week. That was the week that he did nothing.
so we got injured. I
He's
mean,
in he's an auto start this week for me. All right. Well, he put up a 0.
all right, leading up the first couple weeks of the year, though, he was very good. 11, 12 points, 5 points, 15 points, 9 points, 13 points. And then obviously,
Injury. Bye.
injury, a bye, 2 point, and then, oh, we're ready to go again. I mean, it's just like, we're starting ascending and then bad. So do you think that maybe the promise held from him as being a highly drafted tight end, do you think that that's the shine has wore off now? Now they traded for DJ Moore, they extended Dawson Knox. you know, I think maybe the shine has wore off a little bit.
Dawson Knox has always been a solid tight end for that offense. I don't, and here's the thing, like you got to remember Aaron Rodgers, in his heyday, never really supported a tight end, right?
This is your
Jo-
favorite Aaron Rodgers narrative here.
yeah, Josh Allen does not really support a tight end as a tight end one. He just doesn't do it. He spreads the ball and he finds the guy that's open. Like that's just what he does. He doesn't hyper target somebody.
This is fair.
He moves the ball to the players that are actually going to help him drive the ball down the field. And maybe Dawson Knox, and also same thing with Don Kincaid. Maybe they are just people that just help spread the field, but the other guys that are actually the inside routes, which he's more comfortable at throwing, those are the guys that he throws it to. That's just the way he plays.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There was promise there, and it just never turned into dominance.
That's why I
So
feel DJ Moore is going to have a Stephon Diggs year.
I agree with you. We're gonna have him ranked really high. We're gonna we won't commit
I'm so excited for
we won't
people
commit
just
to it.
to pass on him, for us to just
Oh,
take him in every single league and win.
yeah, Tommy, I think we're gonna have him really high. I
Yeah.
know yeah we are. All right, I can't believe you marked this off on our list here. Let's talk about number 22, Colby Parkinson. Our almost amazing free agent pick, free agent thing that didn't work out because they completely changed their offense the week that he would
Well,
have been a smash
well,
play.
the reason why I put him on here is because he was number 8 for the entire year inside the 20 in targets for touchdowns. So he had 14 for 20 targets, 110 yards, 5 touchdowns inside the 20. That's very good for tight ends. That puts you in the same category as Hunter Henry, same category as George Kittle, same category as Ferguson, pretty much. Almost the same category as Dallas Goedert minus 5 touchdowns. But getting those targets there is very, very key. And obviously having you got 3 tight ends there, but I think going into next year, especially having Stafford still there, that is a key player that's going to continue to see an uptick.
The problem is they have three really good tight ends. They have Parkinson, Ferguson, the rookie that they got last
Hmm.
year, and Higbee, who they've extended.
Yeah,
So, I just
trip tight ends
yeah, it's
to
gonna
support
be
that to support the back brace for Stafford.
before we start investing in any LA Ram tight ends, we'll see how that shapes out. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about number 23, TJ Hawkinson. Well, it's
I
like
don't want to talk about TJ Hawkinson. You could talk
actually
all day about him.
we tried to tell we told everybody to drop him every single week. That's the most dropped name every single week, and nobody ever dropped him. It was so bad. Drafted as the tight end 6, finishing at the tight end 23. Awful, awful, awful. The only saving grace we could say for this man is that hopefully now with Call of Duty playing quarterback for the Vikings, there will be more opportunity there. He's going to be drafted high like he always is.
Guys, he had one double-digit week throughout the entire season.
Right. It was week 4, whatever it was, right? Yeah, that was
Week
it.
3 against Cincinnati.
Week 3.
Everything else was, 8 or less.
Yeah. It's done. Again, we'll feel decently all right about it if it's Collier. But again, if it's that, then just punt it and pick a guy with better upside. There's no upside here. Oh, I hate it. Let's talk about number 24, Sam Laporta, amazingly finishing at the tight end 24. I forgot that he even played this year. So he was drafted as the
Yeah.
tight end 4.
I
So
traded for him and 2 weeks later he got injured.
crazy.
Yep.
But like you traded for him, it wasn't looking good for him, throughout the year that he was playing.
No, I mean, I traded for him the week that it was low. It was week yeah, it was yeah, I got him week 4. After week 4 when he played Cincinnati, I bought low and then sorry, Cleveland, and then he played Cincinnati at 17.7. He had Kansas City 14 points. Then he had a lull against Tampa Bay and then bye week Minnesota 18-7, Washington 7.8, and that was the week he got hurt at
Right.
Washington. So
Okay. Well, maybe he's in line for a comeback coming next year. He's nowhere near going to be drafted where he was. So maybe you could get him on the cheap going into next year, and we're going to expect a Detroit bounce back from their offense. So uh maybe he'll be
100%.
on
If
some
they
teams.
don't, damn Campbell's gone.
Let's quickly talk about number 28. Jake Tonges. I alluded to this earlier. Jake Tonges is going to be a little bit of a sleeper for me going into next year. Every time that Kittle did not play, Tonjes was very good last year, especially in championship week, which we know to our benefit. And I can't see any world in which Kittle is ready to start the year, whether it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or whatever it is. So I think Tonjes is a easy shoe in that you just a plug right in, sleeper pick for me. And like Tommy mentioned, maybe there's a world in which Kittle comes back and then he kind of doesn't come back or just is continuing to be brittle, and then Tonjes is the starter for most of the season. So we know that he was very good in the times that he got to play. So good on Jake Tonjes. Um, can't believe we're gonna just mention this one. Let's talk about number 31, Evan Ingram. Here's another guy we told you to drop 19 different times. Drafted as the tight end 8. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, when was the last time he had a good year? Was it like 4 or 5 years ago?
It was when he was on Jacksonville.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about it. He had that was 3 years ago, and he had a lot of receptions. A lot of receptions. Okay, so let me
Yeah,
not.
they were
Let,
trying to break the reception for tight end. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing.
I well, that's. I mean, what else? Like, he's going to be the starting tight end for Denver next year. Okay, he's not going to be on any of my teams, and I'm sure some people will draft him. He's going to
Guys,
be drafted next
guys,
year.
you cannot draft him next year. You got to remember exactly what happened. Do you know what happened to last week? Jalen Waddle got traded over there.
That's right.
So that's going to take targets away from a guy that's not even getting targets. Stay away from him.
Less than 0-0. And there's a lot of mouths to feed now in Denver. Jalen Waddle, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant,
Somebody, somebody
Marvin
that's
Mims.
somebody that's he got 72 targets last year, but he only caught 47 balls. For
Yeah,
a guy
come on now.
that is almost catching 50% of his balls, is not going to get targets, especially in Sean Payton's offense.
He had he had 2 games the entire year in double digits, and both of those were 11 points and 10 points.
Okay.
So
Well,
yeah.
at least he had 2 games in double digits, whereas which one called Kincaid had one.
That's well, no, Kincaid had more than that.
No,
Kincaid had
Kincaid had one.
12 points, 15 points, 13 points, 19 points,
Sorry,
12
sorry,
points.
sorry, sorry, sorry. I meant TJ Hawkinson. Sorry.
Oh,
We were just talking about Hawkinson.
yeah, let's not put put uh
My bad.
put mud on the name of Kincaid. Last name I wanted to bring up was David Njoku. and he drafted as a tight end 10. Amazingly, he's another name who just gets drafted in the top 12 of tight ends every single year. Um, at this point, he's not going to be back in Cleveland. We don't exactly know where he's going. I will say that obviously it leaves the door open for Fannin, who we already talked about, but I think Davis is the end of David Njoku as a thing. Um, not really sure where he could go to be in any way useful, but that's the end of the empire. We told you guys not to draft him, but you guys did. So congratulations.
You know, I can see him going.
But the Giants again.
No, no, I could see him going to New Orleans.
But Jawan Johnson's there.
He's aged. He's aging.
He just looks it. So that's the end of the tight ends I wanted to talk about on top of the top 12. I'm curious, was there another name that we didn't cover? I mean, we didn't talk about the rap career of Darren Waller. We don't need to get
Mason
into that.
Taylor.
Oh, Mason Taylor. High hopes that we had for
Yeah,
him as a sleeper pick never came to fruition. Now, I just want to point out to that my brother has reminded me 38 different times that Mason Taylor was 20 years old last year. Of course, he wasn't playing to the level he should have.
yeah.
And that's the only leeway that I'll give him because he broke zero tackles, zero this past year. So I'll give him a little leeway, but it's not like I'm going to have him on a lot of teams to start the year next year. So I wanted to ask you on the Giants situation. So is this the end of Theo Johnson's fantasy relevance?
No, I don't think he's going to be a week in, week out start, but I do think he's going to have on and off weeks. It's going to be the same kind of system with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, how that was, when it was good. Um, you got a better passing quarterback in Jackson Dart compared to Lamar Jackson. Um, so he's going to be able to support a lot of options. He's going to have a lot of options. Um, I don't think it's the end of Theo. I think Theo is going to be a good red zone target.
Okay. I mean, maybe
Isaiah like he's going to be outside, inside the 20s, and then between the 20s, and then Theo Johnson's going to be inside the 20s.
yeah, maybe you're right. It looks like it's shaping up to be a really cool offense. It's gonna be fun to
Yeah.
watch. It's gonna be fun.
It's been a long time to say it's going to be a fun time to watch the Giants.
Yeah. Any sleeper tight ends you keep your eye on for next year? Early thoughts on that?
Um, I mean, sleeper wise, I'd probably say Isaiah Likely is definitely somebody I want to watch, but I want to keep an eye on Brenton Strange.
Doctor Strange?
Yeah, Doctor Strange, he was hurt on and off this past year, but he showed that he is a valid guy there. Another one that I kind of want to keep an eyeball on is Chig Okonkwo. Um, yeah, so Chig basically got signed by the Washington Redskins, Commanders,
Commanders,
Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to
the
call them,
Washington football team.
the Washington Sentinels. Um, he gets signed by them,
DC
and
United.
yeah, he gets signed by them, and obviously Zach Ertz is over. So he's a very athletic tight end, so this could be a really nice pivot from Zach Ertz.
Yes, although I should mention at the behest of the entire fantasy community getting angry that we don't say it. There's a guy there who already exists in Washington named Ben Sinnott, who is
Yes,
a
but they decided to sign Chig,
I
so
know. Right. To me, that's like that means they're saying something about
that
like
means that they're saying that they don't like him as the tight end one.
in the way that they drafted him. Right.
Correct.
Right. He was a highly drafted tight end that is not coming to fruition. That's what it looks like. So,
Yep.
no, I agree with your assessment. But the internet community is obsessed with him. Oh, obsessed with him.
Well,
So,
let them draft him.
right. It'll be better for us. Yes.
Yes, correct.
So there we go, tight ends, and we'll get into way more on opportunity cost and math of the drafting of that as we get farther into the off season. But there we go. That's our show, and that's the end of our 2025 review. So we got some fun episodes coming up, and then we'll get into the NFL draft. We'll get into reactions from the NFL draft, and then in a few months we'll be gearing up for draft season for 2026. So we're very, very excited to be with you guys, and thank you very much for having us. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Lang?
We truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch the video. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe, we greatly appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.